The interstellar concord had been clear. Humans and Aurelians could cooperate, trade, and coexist, but interbreeding or emotional bonding was strictly forbidden. The reason was simple. Humans emitted uncontrolled emotional surges, love, grief, rage, that overwhelmed Aurelian neural lattices. Prolonged exposure caused resonance collapse, a condition that slowly destroyed the Aurelian nervous system. Most Aurelians exposed to humans beyond regulated limits died within years. Marriage was unthinkable. Yet over the next months, Leary found herself assigned as Ethan's cultural liaison. The council claimed it was coincidence. She knew better. Fate, or cruelty, had a sense of irony. Ethan was nothing like she expected. He asked questions, real ones, about her world, her bioluminescent cities, the way Aurelians sang their history into coral memory banks. He laughed easily. He listened deeply. Worst of all, he cared. Each meeting pushed Leary closer to collapse. Her people noticed the changes, prolonged glow patterns, delayed emotional regulation, unsanctioned joy. Her mentor warned her gently. Human emotions burn too hot, he said. You are not built to survive them. She believed him, but she kept meeting Ethan anyway. Middle. Love under a death sentence. The bond completed itself the night Calitha's twin moons aligned. Aurelian biology responded to cosmic resonance cycles, and that night, Leary's defenses fell completely. When Ethan reached out, instinctively, innocently, and touched her hand, the bond sealed. Not physically, emotionally, irreversibly. The pain was exquisite. She collapsed against him, bioluminescence surging wildly across her skin. Alarms sounded throughout the diplomatic wing as her neural field destabilized. Doctors confirmed it within hours. Resonance collapse had begun. She had 12 years at most. Ethan demanded answers. When the truth was explained, that loving a human was killing her, he broke down in a way no Aurelian had ever witnessed. I'll leave, he said immediately. I'll go back to Earth. If distance saves you. It won't, Leary replied softly. The bond persists across space. Only one solution exists. Marriage. Not for love, but for regulation. Aurelian law allowed bonded pairs to stabilize resonance through neural harmonization rituals, but only within legally recognized unions. Marriage created a controlled emotional framework, limits, cycles, dampening fields. It wouldn't cure her. It would slow the death. The condition was cruel. Marry the human you love, or die faster without them. The council debated for weeks. Protests erupted on Calith. Humans were emotional weapons. Allowing a marriage would set a precedent. Ethan addressed the council himself. I don't want to be a symbol, he said. I just want her to live. Reluctantly, the council agreed, on one condition. If Leary's condition worsened beyond control, the marriage would be dissolved permanently. For the safety of the galaxy. The marriage that changed two species. The wedding was unlike any union before it. Held beneath Calitha's luminous seas, surrounded by floating coral platforms and human observers watching in stunned silence. Ethan wore a pressure-adapted ceremonial suit. Leary glowed brighter than ever, her light synchronized with his heartbeat. Their vows were simple. I choose you, Ethan said, voice breaking. I endure for you, Leary replied, a phrase deeper than love in Aurelian culture. For a time it worked. The harmonization rituals stabilized her resonance. Her pain lessened. They built a shared life, traveling between Earth and Calith, becoming ambassadors of possibility. But humans changed faster than Aurelians expected. Ethan aged. Wrinkles formed. Hair grayed. His emotions deepened, intensified, love layered with fear, joy with mortality. Leary remained luminous and unchanged. And her condition returned. Faster this time. Doctors discovered the truth too late. Human emotional complexity increased with age. So did its lethality. The deadly choice. By Ethan's 50th year, Leary's neural lattice was failing. The council presented the final option. A prototype procedure existed: emotional severance. It would permanently remove Ethan's emotional imprint from Leary's neural structure. She would live, but she would forget loving him. Forget him entirely. Ethan agreed instantly. Leary refused. A life without him is not survival, she said. It is prolonged emptiness. Ethan begged her. I'm just one human, he said. You're an entire world's future. She touched his face, bioluminescence dimming. You taught my species something dangerous, she replied gently. That love is worth dying for. The council intervened. They authorized a third path, untested, forbidden. Neural fusion. A partial merging of human emotional processing with Aurelian regulation systems. It could save Leary, but it would kill Ethan. Or so they believed. Ending the condition no one expected. The procedure was performed beneath Calitha's deepest ocean trench. Ethan smiled as they prepared him. If this works, he said, promise me one thing. Anything, Leary whispered. Live loud enough for both of us. The fusion began. Human neural patterns flooded Aurelian resonance, matrices. Emotion, raw, powerful, unfiltered, surged through Leary's collapsing lattice. Then something unprecedented happened. Her biology adapted, not by rejecting humanity, but by embracing it. The fusion stabilized. Ethan screamed, not in pain, but in transformation. When the light faded, he was still breathing. Changed. His emotional output was no longer chaotic. It flowed, regulated, harmonic. Humanity had evolved. So had the Aurelians. The deadly condition vanished, not because love was weakened, but because both species learned to carry it together. Years later, children played beneath Calitha's twin moons, some glowing softly, some laughing too loudly, all alive because one love had refused to obey the laws of fear. Leary and Ethan watched them from the coral balcony. We were never the exception, Ethan said quietly. We were the beginning, Leary replied. And for the first time in recorded galactic history, love was no longer classified as a threat, but as a force of evolution. The moment the fusion completed, the ocean above the trench went silent. No alarms. No emergency signals. No screams. Just light. Not the sharp bioluminescence of Aurelian biology, nor the warm infrared pulse of human neural activity, but something entirely new. A spectrum neither species had ever recorded. The water itself shimmered as if space-time were briefly unsure how to behave around them. Leary felt it first. The pain, the constant, gnawing collapse that had lived inside her for decades, was gone. Not muted. Not delayed. Gone. Her neural lattice stabilized, reforged into patterns the medical systems could not categorize. Where fracture lines once spread like cracks in glass, there was now flow, deep, rhythmic, endlessly resilient. She inhaled sharply and felt everything, not just her own emotions, but echoes of Ethan's, filtered, harmonized, woven into her consciousness without overwhelming it. Love no longer burned. It resonated. Ethan, she whispered. His eyes opened. For one terrifying second, the doctors expected flat lines. Human biology was never meant to endure neural fusion at this depth. But Ethan breathed. Slowly. Steadily. When he spoke, his voice carried a strange calm, still human, but layered with something vast. I can't hear you, he said, astonished. Not with my ears. with the everything. The council monitors erupted in chaos. Data streams spiked beyond predicted limits. Emotional output graphs, once violently erratic for humans, smoothed into elegant curves. A human mind had adapted to Aurelian regulation, not suppressed, evolved. The truth that shattered old laws. Within days, the implications became impossible to ignore. Ethan no longer aged the same way. His cells repaired themselves through resonance cycles synchronized with Calitha's moons. His emotions remained intense, but no longer destructive. Joy deepened without chaos. Grief carried meaning without collapse. He had not become less human. He had become more. The council convened an emergency summit. Species across the Concord demanded answers. The Forbidden Union had not caused extinction. It had unlocked a future. The truth was finally spoken aloud, something Aurelian science had refused to consider for millennia. Resonance collapse was not caused by love. It was caused by fear of adaptation. Aurelians had spent generations stabilizing emotion instead of understanding it. Humans had drowned in emotion without learning to guide it. Together, they formed balance. The law banning emotional bonding was repealed within a cycle, not because of politics, but because reality itself had changed. The cost that still remained. Yet evolution never came without consequence. Ethan could no longer return to Earth as he once was. His presence altered emotional fields around him. Human cities overwhelmed him. Too much noise. Too much unregulated chaos. And Leary, though healed, was no longer entirely Aurelian. They stood between worlds, belonging fully to neither. On the night the council formally recognized human, Aurelian harmonization, Ethan stood with Leary beneath the twin moons, watching the ocean glow with new resonance patterns. "Do you regret it?" he asked quietly. "Loving someone who changed you this much?" Leary considered the question in the way her people did, slowly, deeply, honestly. "No," she said. "Before you, my species survived. After you, we live." He smiled. "And me?" "You taught the galaxy," she said softly, "that love is not a weakness to control, but a force that demands growth." The legacy. Years passed, then decades, then centuries, measured differently now. Hybrid research colonies formed. Children were born glowing faintly, laughing loudly, emotionally powerful and neurologically stable. They were not accidents. They were intentional. The first generation raised without fear of emotional collapse changed diplomacy forever. Wars ended not through deterrence, but through shared emotional resonance chambers, where species learned to feel one another instead of fearing misunderstanding. History recorded one truth above all others. The most dangerous condition in the galaxy had never been love between species. It had been refusing to change for it. Final moment. On the anniversary of their marriage, Leary and Ethan returned to the trench where everything had almost ended. The ocean pulsed gently around them. "I was supposed to die because I loved you," Leary said. Ethan took her hand. "And instead," he replied, "we rewrote what it means to survive." They stood together, no longer human, no longer Aurelian, but something stronger than either. Proof that the universe did not reward safety. It rewarded courage. And love, true love, was never deadly. It was evolutionary.